Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to the show, my favorite part of the week, because I get to spend it with you, my listeners on iHeartRadio, and my podcast listeners as well, which is why I say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because I never know what time it is for you when you are listening to the show. Even listening live, people listen to it live on iHeartRadio, and you could be in a different time zone than I am here in Florida, or you could be listening on the podcast in any one of the 40-some-odd countries that are listening to the show. So I want to welcome you wherever you are in time and wherever you are in your life, because for me, we all need to say to ourselves, I am now. I am here in this moment, and what am I feeling? What am I seeing? Where do I want to be? Where am I? It's such an important concept. And my guest today, I'm so glad that we've finally been able to get together to have Noah St. John on the show. I have been following Noah since the days of Nightingale-Conant, when you could get inspirational and training via cassette tapes. And he has written 14 books, so many different programs. He is one of those people that you want to have in your life. And if you don't know Noah St. John, you will by the end of the show, because he is one of those people that you want in your corner. And we're going to talk today a lot about success. Why do some seem to achieve it effortlessly and others keep hitting wall after wall? Help you get rid of your head trash about money. And most of all, we're just going to talk about helping you achieve what you want to achieve. So, Noah, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's my pleasure, Laura. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's so exciting. We've tried to do this a few times, and I've actually interviewed you before for a program that I put together, and you've done so much more even since then. I mean, I don't know how you do it. You just seem to, you have massive success. But I think the bigger question is, what is success? Because I get this from my listeners all the time, Noah. They're like, I'm not successful. And then I have them what they've done, and like massive successes, but they don't seem to.
Right, absolutely. Well, so, Laura, with my coaching clients that I've been working with over the last few decades, I'm very blessed that as you mentioned, I've written 15 books now that have been translated in 18 languages. I have online courses, virtual events, live events, coaching, and so forth. But what's far more important is the results that, we've been able to get for our clients. And when I say that, we've been able to help our coaching clients add over $2.7 billion in sales. That's billion with a B. And what I mean by that is we've helped people add 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7, and yes, even 8 figures to their business using my methodologies, my systems, my strategies. And, the way we've been able to do that is really help people with 2 basic things that everybody needs, that we all need in order to have this phenomenon called success. So when we look at any human endeavor, there are always 2 components of that. The first is the inner component. That's the part you can't see. And now at my company, successclinic.com, we just call that the inner game. The inner game is everything you can't see, but it affects everything that you do. So, for example, when I'm working with my coaching clients, when I'm speaking at live events, virtual events, doing training programs for companies, I'll often say to my audiences, what is one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And, of course, people will go, and I'll go, right, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? Your beliefs affect your health, your wealth, your peace of mind, your stress level, your finances, your money, your business, your career, your family life, your intimate life, social life, and everything. Literally, there's no place your beliefs don't affect you. However, you can't see a belief. You can't see it directly. All you can see is the effects of that belief. And also, what I want your listeners to realize, everyone listening, is that you could be doing really well in one area of life, but maybe in another area you're stuck or struggling. For example, maybe your health is doing really well, but your business or your career is struggling. Maybe you're doing really well with money, but your relationships aren't going so well, and so forth. So it's not cookie cutter, one size fits all. We really have to take this individually for each individual person. So that's what we call the inner game. But then you also have the outer game. Now, the outer game is everything that you can see directly. That's because it's right in front of your face. That's your habits that you do every day, your lifestyle, the systems and strategies, for those of you who are entrepreneurs or are working from home. It's all of the systems, the strategies that you put in place in order to have that thing called success. So it's only when you have the inner game mastery along with the outer game systems that you have the phenomenon called success. Let me give you a quick example from one of my coaching clients named Sheila. Now, she heard me speak at an event because, I speak at corporations and associations, colleges, universities, business groups all over the country and all around the world. Even today, with everything that's going on, we're doing a lot of virtual events now as opposed to live events that have, many have been postponed or paused for the moment. So doing lots of virtual trainings. And so Sheila heard me speak at an event, and she was very skeptical. She was like, well, yeah, this sounds good, but I've heard it all before. I've kind of done a lot of things and gone to a lot of different seminars and read a lot of books and stuff. And I'm like, well, that's fine. And I hear that all the time, too, but she was telling me that she was making about $5,000 in her business every month, $5,000 a month in sales. Now, that's pretty good, right? A lot of people are like,
that's
wow, $5,000 a month is pretty darn good, right?
Yeah.
But she wanted to do more. She was like, well, I know I can do more than that. I know I can do better. She'd spend all this money to do better. Well, anyway, what happened was she ended up hiring me as her coach, and long story short, in about a year and a half, we got her to the point where she went from making $5,000 a month in sales to over $75,000 a month in sales.
That's a huge jump.
That is a 15 times increase in literally about a year and a half. So how did I do it? Well, very simply, what I just said. I mean, we just worked on her inner game and her outer game. And what she said is, Noah, by the end of that process, she says, Noah, what's incredible? Not only am I making 15 times more than I was before, but I'm actually working less to make $75,000 a month than I was to make $5,000 a month. So for everyone listening, what you can look at is to see, okay, maybe I might need some help in my inner game, maybe I need some help in my outer game, and maybe I might need a little help on both.
It's interesting because a previous guest that I had on my show, Marcella Allison, she's, I don't know if you know Marcella, she's founder of Titanides and is a famous copywriter for a lot of different programs. And one of the things that she was talking about in an email that she sent is this whole idea of you go to course after course, you read book after book, but you never actually do anything with it. You just keep trying to learn and saying, oh, well, I don't have enough knowledge yet. I can't do anything yet. So it sounds like that's being stuck in the inner part and not being able to take it outside, having maybe perhaps enough confidence in yourself that you can actually do something or try something?
Well, that's the phenomenon I like to call shelf-help, having a lot of shelf-help as opposed to self-help. And what's ironic about that, and I have a lot of self-proclaimed self-help junkies who, hire me as a coach or come to my virtual events or live events or, take my online programs. And they're saying, hey, no, I'm a self-help junkie, and I admit it, but I don't really want to be. I really want to get some results in my life. And what's, one of the things that I work with on all the time, Laura, is this realization that, it's very easy to buy a course, but it's very hard to take action. We don't live in the information age anymore. We live in the information overload age. I've been online since 1997. I've owned, I started my company, SuccessClinic.com, in my college dorm room with $800 and a book on how to do HTML. I started that in 1997. So for any of you listening who can remember being online in 1997, remember that? The dial-up. Remember that? It was like
Tech company
painful,
helping people
right?
do all.
It was
totally
painful,
get it.
right? Maybe like your website could have like 2 pixels on it or something. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
But, ironically and unbeknownst to me, I actually ended up launching one of the world's first business and personal growth website, successclinic.com, way back over 20 years ago, just because I had a vision. I had really just a dream, a deep burning desire to help people, to make a difference, make an impact all around the world, which I know that everybody listening to this program probably has the same thing, probably has that deep burning desire to make a difference, to help people, and yes, and to make a good living, sharing your message. So, that's what I've been teaching people to do for over 2 decades now, which is one of the reasons we help people make so much money, really even working from home or working wherever they want. It doesn't have to be a job, or it can be at a job, but it can be, doing a side thing or really having your own online business. But what it really comes down to is the fact that information is everywhere. We are, in fact, drowning in information. And so we live in the information age. As I stated, we live in the information overload age. And so my point is that what we want, all of us, what we want is transformation. We don't want more information. Nobody wants more information because information is free. It's everywhere, and we are drowning in it, right? So in the olden days, back in the 70s, the 80s, even the early 90s, even before I got into this industry, I always knew I wanted to be a speaker, be a writer, be a coach, be an author. I didn't know what I was going to talk about, but I knew that I just wanted to make sure it was something different, not just saying the same thing everybody says. Everybody says the same thing, and I was like, it's so aggravating. Everybody's repeating the same stories and the same things. But like, oh, my God, I got to do something different. But I didn't know what it was. But way back in the day, you'd have this thing called the Fudge Factor, which is, when these speakers would get on stage and say, we're going to give you 37 DVDs and a 360-page workbook and 27 audios. And you're like, oh, wow, look at all that, And they go thud, like they put it on the stage wheel, thud, right? And, look at all this information you're going to get. Well, now if somebody says that, you just like, oh, my God, you roll your eyes like, I don't have time for this, right? Like, I don't have time to go through all that stuff. Number one. Number two is I can get that on YouTube. I can read blogs. I mean, I don't need all this, right? But what's so fascinating is that for millions and millions of people, they've done all that, right? Just like my client Sheila, who I was just talking about. She'd done all the stuff. She'd spent all that money, gone to all the different gurus and stuff like that, but she just really was stuck. She was stuck at that level that she was at, even though she was working really hard. And was very smart, very motivated. She really wanted to do it. So what I realized is that over time, that, because of both the inner game and the outer game strategies that we're able to share and give to our clients, it really does make a big, enormous difference going from mere information, which really doesn't give you anything, to the actual transformation, meaning going from where you are to where you want to be. That's what we all want. We want transformation, not mere information.
So how does somebody who feels like they're stuck, that they're not moving, which is what's going on so much in the world right now, and even before this whole COVID pandemic, there were so many people that were feeling stuck. How does somebody begin to take that step to get rid of, as your new book talks, about get rid of your head trash, not only about money, about other things as well?
Yes, absolutely. So it really starts with what I was just saying a moment ago about the fact that we all want to transform, right? We want to go from where we are to where we want to be. So picture it like driving a car, all right? So when you drive in your car,
which many people may be right now, we don't know,
right?
Live on the air.
Right. So when you're driving your car, you typically have a destination that you're going to. Most people don't just get in their car, drive around in circles, and come home. I mean, that would be kind of weird, right? So, but notice that many people are living their lives like that, right? Not meaning to, of course, not doing it consciously. But they're basically, driving around in circles and going, gee, I wonder why I'm not getting anywhere. Well, there's a few reasons for that. So, number one, when you get in your car, number one, you know where you're going. Right? Even if you're just going down the street to the grocery store to pick up some groceries, right? You know where you're going. So, number one, you have a destination. But more importantly, number two, you know why you're going there, right? So you have a where you're going, but also you have a why you're going there. And so what many people are missing are those two elements, right? Where am I going? And why do I want to get there? So those are the things that we need to start with. But then another thing about another aspect of reaching your goals, again, knowing that we all want that transformation to go from where we are to where we want to be, is understanding that in your car, there are two forces. There is the driving force of the gas and the restraining force of the brake, right? And you need both in order to reach your destination, right? If you only had one of those forces, then you'd have a problem. If you didn't have the gas, then, of course, you could never leave your garage, right? Because you couldn't go forward or backward. You couldn't accelerate. You couldn't move, right? So you need that forward or reverse, depending on where you are, momentum, right, to move. That's the foot on the gas. But then you also need the restraining force of the foot on the brake. It's not a good idea to drive down the road with no brakes, right? Not a great idea, you know. It's like that commercial that says, well, if your brakes don't stop you, something will. That's not a good
and it might not be the thing that stops you that
right?
you want to stop you.
Exactly. So the point is, in all of our lives, in our business, in our career, in our relationships, in our health, in every area of our life, we have those two forces at work, the driving force and the restraining force. So in our lives, when we're talking about goals, when we're talking about getting unstuck, when we're talking about, as I call it, getting rid of your head trash, we have the driving force that is that inner desire to reach our goals. And that is the foot on the gas, right? I want that thing. I want to make more money. I want to write a book. I want to lose weight. I want to be happy, whatever it is, right? I'm moving towards my goal. But what most people don't realize is that at the same time that many, many millions of people have their foot on the gas, unbeknownst to them, they unconsciously have their foot on the brake. They're actually holding themselves back from the level of success that they're capable of. Now, this is the phenomenon that I discovered in October 1997, which is why I started my company, SuccessClinic.com, in 1997, because I realized exactly what was missing in the traditional success literature. Remember, I said a moment ago that I made a vow that I wasn't going to say the same thing that everybody else says. Everybody says the same thing, and it was so aggravating. It's like, oh, my God, we've heard it so many times. So what I realized is that this was, in fact, the missing piece to in personal growth. It was a missing piece to living a life of abundance. What so many people over the last 20 years have told me is, thank you for giving me the missing piece I've been looking for my whole life. And it is, in fact, this awareness that I'm saying right now, which is that at the same moment that so many people have their foot on the gas, they also unconsciously have their foot on the brake. And that is the phenomenon that I call success anorexia, literally starving yourself of the success that you're capable of. That's really what I've written 15 books about this whole phenomenon of how to stop stopping yourself from the success you're capable of.
I have goosebumps right now over that, Noah. I mean, it seems so simple when you say it, but it's so deep and powerful. And I started thinking about it, and I ran through in my head when it felt like I was on full speed and when I felt like I was in the wrong gear and holding myself back. And it's really powerful to think about different parts of your life when you are moving forward and it feels like you're just in this flow and you're achieving everything, and then all of a sudden it's like you throttle back or you hit the brake, but you don't remember touching the brake. And then you understand why you stopped.
Well, this is what I've been saying to my clients and my audiences for many, many years, is that no one wakes up in the morning and says, wow, this is like a great day. You know, the birds are singing, the sun is shining, and everybody just, looks like a beautiful day. You know what? I think I'll hold myself back from success today. Nobody would ever say that, right? I mean, that would be insane. Nobody would ever consciously hold themselves back from the success they're capable of. And yet, this is the iceberg principle of the human brain, of the human being, really. Meaning about 5%, think about an iceberg, right? An iceberg, we all know, has about 5% that's visible above the surface. The vast 95% is hidden. It's below the surface. Well, it's just like that with the human consciousness, with the human brain, with the human being. Only about 5% of our thoughts, behaviors, and actions every day are on the conscious level, meaning you actually consciously think about them. Meanwhile, the vast 95% are in the subconscious level, meaning below the surface, right? That means we're not consciously aware of it. It's what I often remind my coaching clients and my audiences when I'm speaking is, it wasn't the part of the iceberg that they could see that sunk the Titanic. It was the part that they didn't see.
Right.
And it's the same with us, right? Because we're like, well, we're la, 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 and I'm moving along here and I'm doing fine. But meanwhile, unconsciously, as I'm driving towards the thing that I want with my foot on the gas, I also unconsciously, for millions of people, unconsciously have my foot on the brake. It reminds me of another one of my coaching clients, Susan, and she heard me speak at another event. And she, again, had spent lots and lots of money, actually over $60,000 on self-help, shelf-help, as I call it, all the shelf-help. And sadly, she was about to declare bankruptcy. She was going to lose her home. She was about to lose her marriage. Her husband said, you're buying all this self-help stuff so we can get better, and we're not getting better, we're getting worse, right? So literally, she was $60,000 in debt as a result of buying all the self-help stuff. So talk about a self-help junkie, right? And, but she was very smart, very motivated, very capable. She wasn't dumb, she wasn't stupid, she wasn't lazy. It's just she'd gotten a lot of bad advice from all these gurus. She hired me as her coach, basically as like almost a last resort. She's like, no, this is kind of it. I'm at the end of my rope here. And, but she worked really, really hard. And, she just followed my system. And long story short, in about a year and a half, she had built up. Now she has a six-figure, income. She's just published her first book, and she asked me to write the foreword for her book because of how, she says that I changed her life. So, that's another great example of what I'm talking about, that there are millions of people out there who've spent all this money, time, and effort on all the gurus, all the self-help, shelf-help stuff, but yet they're still stuck through no fault of their own. And so that's, who I am. I'm the voice for the people that don't realize that there is a solution.
All right, let's talk about what you just said. We're going to get ready to go into national news, but this whole idea of through no fault of your own, right? Because if you're putting the brake on, you don't realize you're putting the brake on, but yet those who aren't succeeding, they're stuck. They're blaming themselves, which puts them into a cycle of self-doubt even more, anger, depression, feeling like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm a horrible person. I'm the reason my family is struggling. And it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. So as we get ready to head out, what would you say to people what question can they think of right now before we go to break to help them shift the thinking that it's their fault?
Well, that's the point, is that it really isn't your fault. You just need to, right now, just know that. But it is your responsibility. There's a difference between fault and responsibility. Fault means, that you're basically pointing fingers and saying, well, you did it to me. And there's a place for that, I suppose. But what's far more important is that we as adults take responsibility. If you look at that word, responsibility, it means I have the ability to respond. And that's what it's really, it's not about blaming, it's not being a victim. It's about saying, okay, well, I may have done this in the past, and maybe they did do it to me, but today I'm going to take responsibility, which is, of course, why I have all the books and courses and coaching that's available for people who are ready to take responsibility and, most importantly, ready to take action.
Perfect. So, everybody, I want you to shift that thinking. Just be with it as we go into the National News Break here on podcast. It'll be instantaneous, and we'll be back with more from Noah St. John to talk about how you can achieve your best success. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with the one and only Noah St. John, who I've been following his work and just so excited to know that I know him and I have his phone number and that I can have him on my show, because he's one of those people that you really want to know. he helps you get the inner and the outer game going together. He really, to me, is one of those few people in the world that really walks what he talks. He lives it, he breathes it, and he draws out of the people he works with authenticity so that they really get who they are and who they want to be in the world, and then those two match, which is something really unique in the world. And with everything going on in the world today, to me, I want to introduce you to people, as I've done this is our 5th season to have this show, introduce you to people that lead with kindness, that lead with love, that lead with building you up and not breaking you down first to build you up. And Noah is one of those people. So Noah, right before the national news break at the bottom of the hour, you said something that I just love that'll lead us into this next half of the show. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to move yourself forward and to acknowledge what has happened, but not get stuck there. So let's talk about that whole idea. Your latest book is called Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money, and I know you're offering it to people free. All they have to do is pay postage to get it. Why is head trash about money something that stops so many people from succeeding?
Well, this is actually, like I was saying earlier, pretty much I've written 15 books about essentially the same topic, which is getting rid of your head trash, particularly about money. So, of course, the question is, well, what is head trash? What does that mean? So what I've been teaching my coaching clients, my audiences, workshops, private workshops, or colleges, universities, business groups for literally these last 2 decades, is that head trash is that voice in your head that says, I can't do it because, ... right? So if you think about going back to what I was talking about earlier, setting your goals, right? Having your destination, just like driving a car, right? So I want to reach that destination whether it's, you want to make more money, you want to start your online business, you want to grow your business, you want to get more clients, you want to write a book, you want to lose the weight, you want to just be happy, whatever your destination or your goal is, right? So you think about that and you say, yeah, that's what I want. But then what they have is, yeah, but I can't do it because, right? So, the classic example is, well, Noah, I want to double my income. I want to start my online business or grow my business like so many of your coaching clients have, but I can't do it because, and then, I always know what's coming. There's always an excuse that's coming, and it's like, well, I can't do it because I don't have the time. I can't do it because I don't have the money. I can't do it because I can't afford it, because I'm not smart enough, because I don't have the training. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what to sell, or whatever it might be, right? And so this is one of the things that I always like to say to my clients and my audiences, whether I'm, speaking or just doing consulting, is a quote from the author Will Rogers, who had this wonderful quote that he said, "It ain't what a man don't know that gets him in trouble. It's what he knows that ain't so." So think about that.
That is, oh my God, I'm just like, well, Will Rogers was just an icon, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay, build on that.
Absolutely. So the point is, think about how many things you know that ain't so, right? Well, Noah, that all sounds great, but yeah, I can't do it because I don't have the time. I can't do it because I don't have the money. I can't do it because I can't afford it. So if you're giving all those reasons in your head, that's what I call your head. Because guess what? Here's another quote that I like to share. Now, Henry Ford is purported to have said, whether you believe you can or whether a person believes they can or they can't, they're right. Now, what I like to do, with all due respect to Mr. Ford, I've updated that quote. So here's how I say it. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you make yourself right. See, we humans have an almost infinite capacity to make ourselves right. If you don't believe me, put a Democrat and a Republican in the same room and have them watch a political speech and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, when there were sports playing, have put a New York Yankees fan and a Boston Red Sox fan in the same room and have them watch a Yankees-Red Sox game. Are they watching the same game? Well, yes and no. They are watching the same set of circumstances that happen on the field, but the point is, when one team does something great, then one person will be happy and one will be miserable, and vice versa. So no, they're not watching the same game. They're not listening to the same speech, even though they are. See, so we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. So if you hear, like stories of my clients, when you go to my website, when you get my book, and you see, well, there's all these stories of all of these real people, real stories who've had incredible results using my inner game and outer game systems. But then your next thought is, yeah, well, it sounds nice for them, but I probably can't do it. Well, guess what? You're going to make yourself right. And this is one area that I always say to my clients and to my audiences, no matter where I'm speaking, whether it's at live events, virtual events, businesses, for associations, colleges, universities, I always say this is one area where you don't want to be right.
One of your books, Permission to Succeed, always struck me because so many of us don't give ourselves permission to succeed. And it's a hard concept to accept. It's sort of what you had said before the break, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Where am I going and why do I want to get there? This whole idea of, I think the first step is acknowledging that you're holding yourself back. And then saying, I'm giving myself permission to succeed, from your famous book, Affirmations, which I love. It's just one of those joyous things. You just keep grabbing an affirmation. But for many, it's like their brain is so dug in to this notion of their failure, that they can never succeed, that they're not worthy of succeeding, that they can't get out of their own way. No matter how much they try, they can't keep those positive thinkings going. What do you say to them, and what can they begin to do? Because sometimes I feel everybody goes, oh, you can will something to happen, but sometimes willpower isn't enough.
That's right. Well, that reminds me of an example of one of my clients. A few years ago, I was speaking at a seminar in Los Angeles to a group of about 1,000 business professionals, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, CEOs, and I was presenting to that audience, and I had just finished speaking, and I was walking off the stage, just having finished my presentation, and a man came up to me out of the audience, ran right up to me, and he just almost like grabbed me by the lapels, but he was just standing there. He said, Noah, I want to hire you as my coach. You are the coach that I've been looking for. Now, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. And so I said, okay, well, what's going on? He said, why would you want to hire me right now? And he said, well, Noah, I'm totally stuck. I'm only making $4 million a year. Exactly. So, and I had to laugh, too. I just laughed. I'm like, well, because, that sounds kind of silly, doesn't it? It's like, and I even said to him, I said, well, a lot of people would like to be stuck, with quotes around it, right, at $4 million a year. That doesn't sound like a problem, does it? And he goes, no, you don't understand, though. I'm the CEO of this company, and we grew to $4 million in revenues really fast. And we have been stuck at $4 million in revenues for the past 4 years. Oh. And he said, Noah, I've hired every guru under the sun, all these marketing guys, all these self-help guys, all these personal development dudes, and, he's named all the gurus. And he said, we are still stuck. And he said, as soon as I heard you speak about head trash and your foot on the brake and getting rid of your head trash about money and affirmations and permission to succeed, he said, everything you just said, he said, something inside me told me that you are the coach I've been looking for. So he hired me on the spot, which was, awesome. I love working with action takers, right? People who take action. So the point is, I worked with him for about, a year and a half, 2 years. In that period of time, about a year and a half or so, his company went from being stuck at $4 million in revenues for the previous 4 years to over $20 million in sales in less than 2 years. That's a 6 times increase in less than 2 years. Now, how did I do that? Well, I did it by exactly what I'm sharing with all of your listeners right now, which is we just walk through my process of inner game mastery and outer game. But what's funny about it is that we spent 90% of our time on inner game. We focused very, very little on outer game because he'd already been successful, to the degree that he would let himself succeed. And so what this means for everyone listening is this. People say to me all the time, well, Noah, I'm totally stuck. I'm only making $40,000 a year. And then I have other people that say, Noah, I'm stuck. I'm only making $400,000 a year. And then I have people say, Noah, I'm stuck. I'm only making $4 million a year. So it doesn't matter what kind of money you're making right now. I truly believe, and I've seen this over the last 2 decades, which is that every one of us knows when we're not reaching the level of success that we know we're capable of. So whether you're making $40,000, $400,000, or $4 million, it really doesn't matter. What matters is, are you giving yourself permission to be as successful as possible? And one of the ways that you do that is by looking at this whole concept of getting rid of your head trash about money.
Okay, so what's an exercise that you could share with my listeners to help them begin shifting their inner game?
Absolutely. So going to what I've been saying, throughout this conversation. So one of the first things that you can do right now for all of you listening is write down what you want, right? Where are you going, or where do you want to go? Going back to my car analogy, most people are driving down the road of life with one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas, number one. But number two, many, many people are driving around in circles wondering why they never get anywhere. And so you could actually be doing both, or even if you're doing just one. Like, so for example, my client, Sheila, who I told you about earlier, who I helped to go from $5,000 to $75,000 a month. Well, she knew what she wanted, right? She wanted to be successful in her home-based business. So she had been working really hard for that, spending all this money on all those other people. But because they had never shown her what I'm talking about and what I teach about getting rid of your head trash, she was still stuck. So the point is, maybe you know where you want to go, and maybe you don't right now. So if you know where you want to go, well, then write that down. Get very clear. If you don't, then that's a really good place to start, because otherwise, now you're just driving in circles. So that's one of the first things you can do. Another thing you can do right away is to understand what are the driving forces and the restraining forces that you have right now in your life. I talked earlier about the fact that in a car, you have the driving force of the gas and the restraining force of the brake. And that's what we have in our lives, right? All of us have a driving force. Well, Noah, I want to make more money. Noah, I want to be healthier. Noah, I want to lose weight. Noah, I want to find that, person for me. I want to find my soulmate. Or Noah, I just want to have peace of mind. I want to get out of this fear that I'm feeling. Whatever it might be for you, right? So that is the driving force. But then, what is the restraining force? What is holding you back right now? What's the fear? Because what's so funny and ironic is that for many people, they have a fear of success. At the same time, they have a fear of failure. See, one of the things that I'm working with my clients on right now, both my individual coaching clients as well as my consulting clients, my corporate and association clients, is this whole notion of control versus fear. See, the way it works is this. Control and fear work in opposition. The more control that you have over your life, your career, your business, the less fear you feel. Conversely, the less control that you have, the more fear you feel. And so this is why millions and millions of people right now are feeling so much fear. Because through no fault of their own, their jobs have been taken away, or their livelihood that they've built up, their business has just been shut down because of the pandemic, through no fault of their own. And so one of the things that I work on with my individual coaching clients, with my corporate and association consulting clients, is this idea of control versus fear. And one of the ways, or the most important way, that you can have that control is by creating and installing systems. Systems in your life and systems in your business. because it is the systems that give you the control. If you don't have the inner game and the outer game systems in place, then you're not going to have that control, and that means you're going to have to give in to that fear, because the fear is very real. If you don't have control, you're going to feel fear. There's no way around that. It's not about thinking positive and say, oh, I'm not going to feel fear today. Well, you can say that all you want, but if you don't have control, you're going to feel fear. I mean, 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their bank account right now, meaning less than $1,000 in savings. I mean, I know that feeling very well. I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. I grew up in poverty, even though I was surrounded by wealth. But my family was dirt poor. I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a very, drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure. So I know what it's like. I grew up with not having control and living in fear. And meanwhile, right down the street, I saw that there was great wealth and abundance. So I said, well, what the heck? This really sucks. I hate being poor. I hate not having control. So from a very young age, I was painfully exposed to what I'm teaching right now. That's, taken me all of these years to be able to put those systems in place so that I have the control, so that I don't have to feel the fear. But for those of you listening who are feeling that fear because of the lack of control, I would say to you the place to start is focusing on your inner game systems and your outer game systems.
Okay, and one of the ways that they can do that is you have lots of resources on your website, and you also are offering for people to get rid of get your book, Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money, for just the price of shipping. So let's share how they can get to the resources, Noah, because some people, maybe they can't hire somebody like you right now. They need some shelf assistance just to help them get started and ask some questions, or maybe they want to reach out to you because they need some specific help from you. How do they do that?
Absolutely. So the first place to go is to get my new book called Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money, How to Avoid the 3 Big Money Mistakes Even Smart People Make. And all you have to do is go to sendmeabooknoah.com. Very easy to remember. Sendmeabooknoah.com. And I will send you a book. I will do that. Sendmeabooknoah.com. The book is free. I've covered the cost of the book, and we just ask you to cover the shipping. So that's sendmeabooknoah.com. Very easy to remember. The second place you can go is our shop page or store page on our website, which is also easy to remember. It's shopnoahstjohn.com. Shopnoahstjohn.com. So I have online programs. I have a upcoming 21-day Freedom Lifestyle Challenge where I actually walk you through this process of how to install the inner game and outer game systems. That's all at shopnoahstjohn.com. And then the third place you can go if you want to work with me as a coach, hire me, you can just go to workingwithnoah.com. Workingwithnoah.com. All of these are very easy to remember, and they're all on our website.
Now, one of the things I love about you, Noah, is how quickly you managed to pivot to really, truly help people. You just finished a 2-day virtual program that normally you only did with your, high-end coaching clients. And what was that like for you to do this pivot to try to help more people right now?
Well, from the time that I got into this business over 20 years ago, I made a commitment that I wanted to have an online business. Even though I love speaking, I just absolutely love being on stage and seeing the light bulbs go on over people's heads and, change lives and give the high fives, the hugs, and the handshakes, there in person. Now here we are, and of course, sadly, we're all missing that right now. But even back then, I said, the problem with being just so focused on speaking is that. It's that I've got to actually physically be there. So for the last 2 decades, I've very hard to create this online presence, this online business. So one of the things that I teach my clients all the time is you want to have multiple streams of income, not just one stream. Going back to what I said a moment ago, that's why so many people are feeling fear, because they only had one way of bringing in money. And sadly, that way is gone for millions of people through no fault of their own. And so what I work with my clients on is building multiple streams of income. So it's like having pillars in your Parthenon. If one pillar goes out, okay, it's not great, but you still have all these other pillars to support the structure. So, when I lost all of this money coming in from speaking, I was like, well, it's It kind of hurts. It's not fun. But I had all of my online already in place. And what was nice was and I had a live event. I have a live event called Freedom Lifestyle Experience. That is a 2-day live event in Las Vegas and Orlando that we do. Well, as you stated, we just pivoted and we just took that event online. We call it the Online Business Virtual Retreat. So we're going to be doing that again every few months because of the response was phenomenal. And what was really nice was that we actually had people who came to the virtual event who wouldn't have been able to make it to Las Vegas. We had people coming from Australia. One of my attendees was up at 2:30 in the morning every morning, for the days of the event, and he was like, "I'm here, I'm dedicated." I'm like, "Man, I love working with him," and he's actually one of our platinum coaching clients, and he was there, every day, bright and early at 2:30 in the morning. So, what I would say to people is, look, when you find the why, you find a way. If you want something bad enough, you're going to find the why too. Back in 2007, I listened to a lot of bad advice. I was listening to all the gurus and doing what they said, which was not, a bunch of really lousy advice. I ended up $40,000 in debt, and I had to, really claw my way back after that. So I know what it's like to come out of a really bad situation. But really, what I want people to realize, everyone listening to this program, is, bad things happen to all of us, and many times it's not our fault. But it is our responsibility to take action, and that's why, we have these resources available for you at sendmeabooknoah.com, workingwithnoah.com, and also shopnoahstjohn.com for those of you that really are ready to, take that next step and say, listen, okay, sucks, but, what am I going to do? I'm either going to take action or I'm going to, be left behind. And I know because you're listening to this program, I know you guys are action takers, everyone listening to this. And so, I'm just excited to see what we can do to help people to not just survive this, but really start to thrive.
It's so important for that inner game. And, I love how you talked about that in your last quote that I wrote down. That's a total tweet out. When you find the why, you find the way. It's, to me, that is so much of who you are, Noah, is helping people find their way by understanding what's stopping them from getting through. When I work with my clients myself, I find that that's their biggest block as well. They sort of lost their focus or why they're doing what they're doing because they feel that so much has happened to them. I know for myself, with this sound-induced vertigo that I've had, that, I couldn't talk without being triggered into vertigo. And thankfully, that's easing a bit now that I can do the show without feeling like I'm going to pass out on the floor. But it's so important, and I'm so grateful for everything that you've shared with us on the show today, Noah. There's so much goodness in what you do. And I know I sound like a total devotee of yours, but I think I've been a fan for years.
Yes, well, that means a lot, Laura. I really appreciate it, and I'm just very excited to share this with all your listeners. I know that there's people out there who are hardworking, who, have been working hard for a long time, and I reiterate this, it's through no fault of their own, have had, the rug pulled out from under them. And, I was saying to my wife the other day, I was saying, as this all started, several weeks ago, 6-7 weeks ago now, I was saying to her, why aren't I feeling scared? There's so much fear and trepidation and uncertainty out there. I said, why aren't I feeling scared right now? And then after we talked about it, I realized it's because of what I'm saying right now, because I have the systems in place that gives me the control. But what I want everyone to realize is I'm nothing special. We can all do it, but you just got to take that action, put those inner game and outer game systems in place, and you too can have that control so you don't have to feel the fear.
I love it. Thanks again for being on the show with me, Noah. And everybody, you can go to sendmeabooknoah.com or any of the other links. If you missed them, you can get this on podcast, which will be up on your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Remember, the right questions can change your life. And work on that inner game today. Have a great day.
You've been listening to It's All About the Questions, starring Laura Stewart. Connect with Laura at it'sallaboutthequestions.com and download a free workbook that will help you ask better questions starting today.